Part 1. The Night I Met Him. It started like any other night out. I was exhausted from work, mentally drained, and craving a distraction. A friend convinced me to hit a local bar, promising it would help me unwind. I wasn't looking for anything serious, just a little fun. Maybe a one-night stand to take my mind off the stress of my monotonous routine. The bar was dimly lit, filled with the chatter of people lost in conversation. I remember sipping my drink, scanning the crowd half-heartedly until I saw him. He was standing near the far end of the bar, his posture relaxed yet commanding. Tall, with dark eyes that seemed to drink in everything around him. There was something off about him, maybe the way he barely blinked, or how his lips curved into a smile just a little too slowly. Still, I was intrigued. He introduced himself as Ethan. His voice was deep, smooth, but with a slight rasp, like he'd spent a lifetime whispering secrets in the dark. We talked, and despite the vague unease crawling up my spine, I let myself fall into the moment. I couldn't even tell you what we talked about. It was like his voice wrapped around my brain, lulling me into a trance. One drink turned into two, then three. Then I found myself in a cab with him, my skin tingling with anticipation. I remember flashes, his hands on me, the way he whispered things I barely understood. But something was wrong. The air in the room felt thick, suffocating. His touch felt too warm, almost feverish. At some point I remember feeling paralyzed, unable to move though I was awake. My body felt invaded. Then everything went black. Part 2. The Aftermath. I woke up alone in my apartment. My head pounded like I had the worst hangover of my life. But something else was wrong. My stomach ached, a deep, twisting pain that pulsed with every breath. My clothes were scattered across the floor. The sheets smelled strange, like something metallic, almost rotten. Ethan was gone. I tried to piece together the night, but my memories were hazy, distorted. I barely remembered how I got home. I checked my phone, but there was no number, no text, nothing to prove he had ever existed. Then I noticed something. A deep pulsing sensation inside me, as if something was moving. At first I thought I was just sick. Maybe the alcohol had messed with my stomach, or I had food poisoning. But the feeling didn't go away. It got worse. Over the next few days, the pain grew sharper, the sensation more distinct. It wasn't just nausea. It felt like something twisting inside me, shifting when I moved. Sometimes I swore I could feel tiny pricks along my skin, as if something inside me had teeth. I avoided going to the doctor. I told myself it was just paranoia, that I was overreacting. Then one night I woke up screaming. Part 3. The Discovery. I had fallen asleep on the couch, curled in a fetal position, trying to ignore the dull ache in my stomach. At some point I drifted off, and then I felt it. A sharp stabbing pain deep inside my abdomen. A feeling of something pressing, pushing. I lifted my shirt, heart pounding. My stomach was bulging unnaturally. Something beneath my skin moved. I ran to the bathroom, tears streaming down my face. My reflection was pale, sickly. My hands trembled as I pressed against my stomach, feeling something slither just beneath the surface. I couldn't breathe. I dug my nails into my skin, pressing down, feeling whatever was inside shift in response. That's when I saw it. A lump rising just beneath the skin, pushing outward. Then something else, a small, sharp point, pressing against the inside of my stomach, like something was trying to claw its way out. I screamed. I don't remember how I got to the hospital. Part 4. The Thing Inside Me. They ran tests. They asked me questions I couldn't answer. I didn't know what was inside me. I didn't even know how to explain what I had seen. The ultrasound revealed something unnatural. The doctor's face went pale. He whispered something to the nurse, and she bolted from the room. I stared at the screen, trying to make sense of the black and white images. And then I saw it. Something not human. Not a fetus. Not a tumor. It had limbs. Long, spindly things curled into itself. And it was moving. I started screaming. Part 5. Extraction. The hospital wouldn't tell me what they found. They scheduled me for an emergency surgery. The last thing I remember before the anesthesia took over was the bright glare of the operating room lights and the sound of the doctors murmuring in hushed, frightened voices. I woke up in a different hospital room, restrained. My hands were strapped to the bed. My mouth was dry, my throat raw. A doctor stood over me, but he didn't look relieved. He looked terrified. The procedure was successful, he said, but his voice wavered. I tried to ask what they found. He didn't answer. Then he leaned in and whispered, "We don't know what it was." My blood ran cold. "We destroyed it," he continued. "But we need to monitor you, just in case." "Just in case what?" I croaked. The doctor hesitated. Then he finally said it. It wasn't the only one. Part 6. The truth. I was discharged weeks later, but I wasn't the same. The scars on my stomach weren't normal, jagged, uneven, like something had torn its way out. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the feeling, that deep gnawing sensation in my bones, like something was still inside me, waiting, growing. And one night as I lay in bed, I felt something move again, not in my stomach this time, in my chest, right beneath my ribs. And a voice whispered from inside me, "Mommy." Part 1. A night I can't remember. It wasn't supposed to be anything serious. Just another Friday night. Just another escape from the emptiness of my routine. I had just gone through a rough breakup, and my friends insisted I needed to get back out there. So I let them drag me to a club. Loud music, flashing lights, the kind of place where reality blurs and consequences don't seem real. I don't remember much about the man I met that night, only that he was captivating. His eyes were a shade too dark, his smile just a bit too perfect. He moved through the crowd like he didn't quite belong there, yet no one could look away from him. He told me his name was Dante. I don't even remember deciding to leave with him. One moment I was sipping my drink, listening to his deep, almost hypnotic voice, and the next, I was in his apartment, a vast, cold place, minimal furniture, no photos, no personal touches, just a bed in the center of a too large room. I remember the way his hands felt, too warm, almost feverish. I remember the way his lips moved against my skin, whispering things I couldn't quite understand. And then, nothing. Darkness, a void. Part 2. The symptoms begin. I woke up in my own bed. My clothes were neatly folded beside me. My phone had no messages, no calls. It was like the night had never happened. But something was wrong. The first thing I noticed was my skin. It was too smooth, too perfect. The tiny imperfections I had always hated, small scars, old blemishes, were gone, completely erased, like they had never existed. Then came the hunger, not normal hunger, a deep, gnawing, insatiable craving that food couldn't satisfy. I devoured everything in my fridge, but it did nothing to ease the emptiness in my stomach. By the third day, I realized it wasn't food my body wanted. It was something else, something I couldn't name. Part 3. The changes. Then my reflection changed. At first it was subtle, a flicker in the mirror, a distortion in the glass. But soon I noticed my eyes were darker. The irises weren't just brown anymore. They had a deep, unnatural blackness creeping in from the edges. And my teeth, they were sharper. I ran my tongue over them and felt tiny, pointed edges where there had been none before. And my nails, growing too fast, turning darker at the tips. I was changing. And I had no idea into what. Part 4. The night hunger. The craving got worse. I couldn't sleep. My skin burned with an unbearable heat. And then the worst part, the smell. I started smelling people, not just their perfume or shampoo. I could smell their blood, their pulse beneath their skin. The hunger twisted inside me. One night I couldn't stop myself. I was at work, sitting too close to a coworker. I could hear her heartbeat, steady and rhythmic. I could smell the coppery scent of her blood. And before I realized what I was doing, I licked my lips. She looked at me strangely, but I barely noticed. My body was tense, rigid, fighting the urge to bite. I ran out of the office, locking myself in the bathroom. I stared at my reflection, and my reflection stared back. Not just stared, grinned. But I wasn't grinning. I was terrified. Part 5. The Truth. I needed answers. I found Dante's apartment, or at least where I thought it was. But the building was abandoned. Dust-covered windows. A condemned sign nailed to the door. There was no trace of him. No sign that he had ever existed. But I wasn't alone. A woman was waiting for me. She was pale, gaunt, with sunken eyes that seemed to recognize me. "You slept with him, didn't you?" she asked. My mouth was too dry to answer. Her lips trembled. "You need to tell me exactly how long it's been." "Since what?" I whispered. She swallowed hard. "Since you let him inside you." I felt my stomach drop. 2 weeks, I murmured. Her face went completely white. "Oh God," she whispered. "You don't have much time." Part 6. The Awakening. The hunger got worse. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating. My skin started cracking, thin black veins creeping up my arms. Then the whispering began. At first I thought it was my imagination, a faint voice in the back of my mind. Then one night I woke up hovering above my bed, levitating, and the voice inside me was laughing. I wasn't in control anymore. Part 7. Becoming. I don't know what Dante did to me. I don't know what I am becoming. But the hunger is getting worse, and I don't think I can fight it much longer. Tonight I looked in the mirror, and for the first time, my reflection didn't look back.